The millionaire disguised himself as a garbage-collecting woman to test his daughter-in-law, and the morning sun rose pale and unforgiving over the city, revealing everything people tried to hide in shadows. On that very morning, a man who owned half the skyline chose to disappear into the dust of the streets. His tailored suits were locked away, his expensive watch removed, his identity folded and buried beneath layers of stained cloth and a bent posture. By the time the city truly woke up, the billionaire no longer existed. In his place walked an elderly garbage-collecting woman, pushing a rattling cart through daylight that would soon expose the truth of many hearts. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of humanity, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us who we really are when no one is watching. The man's real name was Harish Malhotra, a self-made millionaire who had risen from a cramped childhood home to a glass tower office that looked down on the city like a god. For decades, Harish believed wealth revealed character, but age had taught him the opposite. Wealth often hid it. What haunted him now was not business rivals or market crashes, but the lingering doubt about the woman his son had married. His daughter-in-law, Meera Kapoor, was admired in public for her elegance and charity appearances, praised for her beauty and polished manners. Yet Harish sensed something hollow beneath her perfect smile. He wondered whether her kindness extended beyond cameras and comfort, beyond status and benefit. With his health weakening and his estate growing heavier in responsibility, Harish decided to test the one thing that mattered more than money: compassion. Disguised as an old woman named Kamla, Harish stepped into the heat of the late morning, when the streets were busiest and patience was thinnest. The sun climbed higher, bathing the city in harsh light, making every flaw visible. Garbage trucks roared, vendors shouted, and people hurried past without seeing him. The disguise was thorough. A faded sari clung to his thin frame, gray wig strands escaped messily, and grime stained his hands. His walk was slow and uneven, not because he could not walk faster, but because invisibility required humility. He pushed the cart with deliberate weakness, allowing people to look away, to judge, or to ignore. By midday, Kamla reached the upscale neighborhood where Meera lived with Harish's son, Raghav. This place was polished and guarded, where sunlight reflected off white walls and trimmed hedges, and where garbage collectors were expected to remain unseen. As Kamla moved through the gated streets, the weight of the disguise pressed deeper. Every step reminded Harish of how easily respect disappeared with appearance. Security guards glanced with suspicion, neighbors wrinkled their noses, and some children laughed openly. Yet the daylight was relentless, offering no cover, forcing truth to stand naked. Meera's house stood tall and immaculate, its marble entrance gleaming under the noon sun. Kamla paused there, heart steady but heavy. Harish did not come to beg, but to observe. He lingered near the bins, sorting waste slowly, deliberately messy, letting scraps fall. Time stretched, and soon Meera emerged, dressed elegantly even at home, her presence sharp against the brightness of day. From behind bent shoulders, Harish watched her expression change, irritation flashing as she noticed the mess near her gate. The test had begun, and there would be no turning back. Meera's life was comfortable, but comfort had hardened her. She had grown up watching her parents struggle, and she believed survival meant climbing upward without looking back. Wealth, to her, was safety, and those without it were reminders of a past she wanted to erase. Seeing Kamla there unsettled her sense of order. The garbage cart, the slow movements, the smell, all disrupted her curated world. In the glaring daylight, she saw inconvenience, not humanity. Harish felt the sting of that gaze, even without words, and it cut deeper than he expected. As Kamla fumbled, dropping trash and struggling to lift a bag, neighbors watched. Some looked away, others whispered. No one stepped forward. The sun bore down, sweat running along Harish's temples beneath the wig. His back ached genuinely now, and for the first time, the test felt less like an experiment and more like a reckoning. Meera gestured sharply, her body language impatient, signaling annoyance rather than assistance. She called for help from inside, but not for Kamla. She wanted the problem removed, not solved. Minutes passed, and Kamla remained. Harish noticed how quickly dignity eroded when no one defended it. He remembered his mother collecting scraps when he was a child, her hands rough, her eyes proud despite hunger. That memory burned bright under the midday sun. He wondered if Mira would ever see beyond her discomfort. The city around them continued, uncaring, but something subtle began to shift. A young boy from the next house, curious and unburdened by prejudice, approached and offered water. It was a small gesture, but it cracked something open. Harish accepted silently, gratitude swelling behind tired eyes. Mira watched this exchange, and for a brief moment, something flickered in her. Embarrassment, perhaps, or fear of being judged. The presence of witnesses mattered more to her than the act itself. She instructed the staff to clean the mess quickly, but still did not address Kamla directly. Harish felt the weight of that avoidance. Kindness delayed or outsourced lost its meaning. The test was revealing more than he wanted to know. Later that afternoon, when the sun softened slightly and shadows grew longer, Kamla returned, pretending confusion about the route, lingering again near Mira's home. This time, Harish deliberately stumbled. The fall was controlled, but the pain was real. His knees scraped the pavement, dust rising in the golden light. The cart tipped, garbage spilling openly. This moment was the heart of the test, the point where instinct would override image. Mira rushed out, alarm flashing not for Kamla, but for the scene. Her neighbors were watching again. Daylight exposed everything. For a heartbeat, she froze, weighing reputation against responsibility. Then something unexpected happened. She stepped forward, not gracefully, not perfectly, but genuinely shaken by the sight of an elderly woman hurt on her doorstep. She helped Kamla sit, calling for water, her voice tight with urgency. Harish felt her hands tremble as she tried to steady him. This was not practiced kindness. This was raw, clumsy, and real. In that moment, Mira saw more than dirt and age. She saw vulnerability. The sun reflected off Kamla's eyes, and Mira caught a glimpse of something familiar there, something like her own mother's exhaustion from years ago. The barrier cracked. She stayed with Kamla, ignoring the mess, instructing others to wait. Her concern deepened, and for the first time, she spoke to Kamla as a person, not a problem. Harish's heart pounded beneath layers of disguise, emotion rising unexpectedly. As the afternoon faded, Mira insisted Kamla rest in the shade, offering food without hesitation. The act was simple, but its timing mattered. It came not when watched, but when moved. Harish realized then that people were not static. Kindness could be buried, suffocated by fear and pride, but it could still breathe if given space. The test had reached its truth. Days later, under another bright morning, Harish revealed himself. The reveal was not theatrical. It was quiet, intentional, done in full daylight, where shadows could not distort it. When Mira realized who Kamla truly was, shock drained the color from her face. Shame followed quickly, then tears. She understood the weight of every ignored moment, every impatient gesture. Harish did not scold. He simply explained why he had done it, how he needed to know whether compassion lived in her when convenience was stripped away. Mira listened, broken and open. She admitted her fear, her mistakes, her blindness. The city outside continued its daytime rhythm, but inside that house, something fundamental changed. Harish saw sincerity in her remorse, not performance. He saw growth beginning, painful and necessary. The test had not been about passing or failing, but about awakening. From that day forward, Mira changed quietly. Not through grand gestures or public charity, but through consistent, unseen acts. She spoke to staff with respect, learned names, listened. She began volunteering anonymously, returning to the streets in daylight, facing what she once avoided. Harish watched from a distance, pride mixed with humility. He had learned something too. Judgment could be a mirror, revealing one's own harshness. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause and reflect on how we treat those the world overlooks, please take a moment to engage with the video, because your support helps these stories reach others who need them. Just before you go, a special request from the heart. Comment below about a moment when kindness changed you or someone you know, because shared stories keep compassion alive. The sun set on that chapter, but daylight returned every morning, offering new chances. Harish no longer needed disguises. Mira no longer needed approval. And somewhere between garbage carts and marble gates, humanity reclaimed a little more ground, proving that even in the brightest light, true character is revealed not by wealth, but by how gently we treat those who can give us nothing in return.